trying to record this. I'm wearing a hat, as you can see, and I'm not a big drinker, which is why after half a glass of wine, I'm pretty much incoherent. Let me just make sure I'm streaming. It's always an adventure. Every time I'm like surprised that it's working. Is it working? Who knows? And maybe no one's tuning in yet because the show's supposed to start at 7:30. But like I said, I'm just scrolling down as we speak. I'm just going to assume we're going live. Fuck it. Iris Bar here, wearing a hat that I found in storage. Still in New York, still in my friend's amazing loft. And I went to this spot down the street where my friend Dan is an amazing drummer. Dan, I don't know how he pronounces it in English. Dan Aran. New friend. I call him friend. I met him for the first time today, but that's the kind of person I am. I'm the kind of person that calls people friends that I've never even met. Is that LA? I don't know if it's LA. I don't know what that is. I'm not a fake person. I'm not a name. Well, I'm not a name dropper. I value friendship, but now I feel like he's a friend. Okay. Because I went and supported his music. He's an amazing drummer. He was playing with this collective at this place called 1803. And they were amazing. Horn player. He's a flautist. Where did that come from? Where did flautist, not flutist? Is flutist a vulgar word? And then they opted to go with flautist? Who knows? I'm going to check again on the Facebook page. Because again, I don't trust technology. I definitely don't trust Mark Zuckerberg. I'm not seeing it live. Maybe I'm not live. Maybe I am. Do I go to the videos? Does anyone care? Should I be talking about this as I'm doing a live stream? I am live. Okay, there's one person. I wonder who that one person is. Can you tell that I've had a little wine? This is insane. How does someone get drunk from one, not even a full glass of wine? How does that happen? Can you tell that I'm talking in a higher cadence, an octave, and I'm doing the upspeak? Is that the wine? I sound like Trump at his latest rally. I'm not sick. I'm not contagious. I'm going to kiss all the beautiful women. Someone said something interesting to me because I kept going, Trump's a liar. He goes, no, he's not. I go, yes, he is. He goes, no, he's not. He's incapable of lying. He has no filter. I don't know if that's true. That's an interesting statement. I tried to think about it. I'm like, he says shit. He doesn't filter, so he constantly displays the insanity, right? He has no capability of no impulse control. And that's the narcissism. But is he a liar? I'm like, well, yeah, he's lied about a lot of stuff. And he's like what? And I'm like, I don't know. He's lied. I think he's lied, right? I mean, my God, that seems like a given. I feel like I shouldn't be making any political statements right now because I am slightly incoherent. I consider myself an intelligent human being. And I feel like I could be smarter. And I want to say smart things. I like to say smart things. I've been watching the confirmation hearings all the time. And everyone's like, why? It's a charade. Do you say charade or charade? I say charade, but in this case, I'm going to say charade. I find it fascinating. I find the legalese, I'm learning new things. I can see past the political bullshit, but is it weird that I actually believe she has integrity? Is that weird? Because does that make me a weird person? When I believe her where she's not going to be a pawn and she's not going to make judgments? Am I delusional? Maybe I am. So calm and collected, this woman, and you can't help and admire her academic record, regardless of her crazy ass views. Please, don't think I'm condoning any of her personal views. Please don't think that. But I'm like, no, maybe she, I'll take her at her word. Maybe she won't. She's just going to look at the text. I'm trying to wrap my head around the Constitution. Again, maybe I shouldn't be talking about these topics right now when I'm not in my usual brilliant state of mind. Let me call myself brilliant because that's also the wine talking. I think I have a sharp analytical mind. I think I do. I think I'm ignorant about a lot of stuff. That's the weird dichotomy with me. Sometimes I feel like, you think I know stuff. I don't. But where was I going with this? This is the problem. This is why people shouldn't drink. Literally 3 sips of red wine. I had to order because I was trying to shoot video of my friends, my jazz collective. Can I call it a band? A bounce? I was like, well, yeah. But I was trying to shoot that and I felt weird shooting and standing there without ordering anything. So I ordered a glass of wine and it's New York. And it was $20 for mediocre wine. I don't think that would happen in Italy or France. I feel like in Italy or France, not Germany, because I don't know if the Germans know red wine. I feel like they have a cheap table wine, even Portugal. Let's include Portugal in this festivity. You could order a cheap wine and not be embarrassed, and it's good for the meal. But God forbid in New York, you order a cheap wine, especially if I'm not eating. I ordered a $20 glass of wine, and I only had time to drink 3 sips because I had to come back here and slur in front of you guys and rant about Amy Coney Barrett. 6 kids, dude. 6 kids. Kid with special needs. You gotta admire the woman. I'm sorry. Again, I feel like in this current culture, I'm like afraid to say that I admire this woman who I may completely disagree with on all her personal views. God help me. But can we still admire it? Can we? Yes, we can. Is it still terrifying that Roe v. Wade and affordable health care is in question? Yes, it is terrifying. I'm trying in today's climate, and again, fight as far as you want. It is a charade. There's going to be confirmation, but still, due process is interesting, even if it is a charade, right? I'm wearing socks right now in the house. I'm going to show you my sock. I'm wearing a sock, okay? I don't know if I should be wearing, I'm going to take the socks off now, okay? I'm going to do that. They're ankle socks, which are annoying because I'm not sporty, and I don't need the ankle socks to go on a run. I like knee-high socks like an old lady. I'm one step away from buying compression socks. My dad wearing compression socks. Does anyone have any questions in the meantime, now that I'm talking to my 4 beloved listeners? This would be considered an official rant. 6 people, I love it. I hope you like my hat. There are comments already. Let me read the comments. Disgusting beliefs. Yes, you're right. She has 7 kids? Have I eaten today? Thank you, Christine. First of all, I love that you're here. And thank you, Chris Patrick. You're right. It's so odd. You know what I'm learning? And maybe this is late in the game. The complexity of humanity, where you're disgusted by someone's beliefs, but you can admire a certain aspect of them, right? I mean, we're not robots. Wasn't that the theme of Hannah Gadsby's Nanette? Isn't that the theme and the problematic nature of cancel culture, where it really becomes it becomes a black and white and a dichotomy? Picasso, brilliant. I don't think he's a brilliant artist. I'm not saying he's mediocre. I'm just saying sometimes I feel like maybe a little overrated with the blue period or some of the cubism. I can admire his importance in the artistic canon. But obviously a horrible misogynist. Can we admire? Can we still like an old Woody Allen movie? These are not questions that I'm the first one posing, but I do feel like, should I be looking into camera to be more, there we go. God, I love this hat. I feel artsier in this hat. What are you gonna do? I'm gonna take the hat off. Look, just an average mom in a mom bod who had a little too much to drink because she's lonely and depressed. That's not me today. Maybe yesterday. Yesterday I was lonely and depressed. Today, I'm not lonely and depressed. But you put the hat on, and look, there's a whole world of knowledge and artistic prowess in this human. And here, maybe I can talk about kids' napping schedule with any interest, and maybe not. It's a toss-up. With the hat, no one's going to talk to me about napping. No one would dare talk to me about parenting in this hat. Okay? Which is what I like. When I was I'm going to refresh the page. When I was a young parent, that's a oxymoron. We lost one. We're now at 5. I don't know what that means. Who did we lose in the interim? We have 6 comments now. Who did we lose? Thank you. You're adorable. Is it 6 or 7 children? What is going on? Now there's an argument about how many children she has. Can I just say one thing about adoption? I don't think people adopt enough. I believe, and this is not me, I think it's harder for a single mom to adopt, which I think is fucked up because I'm a kick-ass parent. And after the quarantine, I see a lot of dysfunctional family units. So I feel like single people. Also, I think I just heard that you can't adopt after the age of 50 or something like that. I just heard that from someone, which I also think is ludicrous. Some rules make no sense. I mean, some rules, there's an inherent judgment in them that pisses me the fuck off. But adoption entails, and again, this is a whole ethics philosophy. Is there such a thing as altruism? Is an act less noble if it makes you feel good? We can go into that another day. But in every, people that are posting pictures of their biological kids, there is a level of narcissism in there, especially if, oh, they look like you, even on a subconscious level and even on an evolutionary level, like you're protecting, you're proud of your kid because he came from you. But there is this narcissistic quality to it. And there's something so beautiful and I think pure about adoption where, and again, I don't care if it makes you feel like a savior, whatever it is, you're still adopting and you're still taking on a kid that you didn't physically produce, that looks nothing like you, or maybe your adopting kid doesn't, whatever. And you're taking that on and you're loving this kid. And I think that there's something really beautiful and powerful about that. I remember I met a makeup artist who adopted, I think, several kids from India that had special needs. Now, as someone who lost a brother to special needs, not too special, but he had special needs, he was severely mentally handicapped and passed away. I am so appreciative of people that adopt with special needs. I really am. And I think it's a rare occurrence, and people that do that and have the means to do it are amazing humans. I'm just gonna say it. So if you can adopt, adopt. If you can foster a child for a while or forever, foster. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't mean to be preachy, but I don't think people appreciate, and I'm not especially, I think everybody that adopts is amazing, but people that already have biological kids that are adopting, obviously I admire, and the people that adopt, if they can't have kids, it's all beautiful, but people that cannot have, or that have kids in a full family that adopt, I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing. So I'm just gonna say that. So maybe that was my initial admiration for the woman with the clan. And I mean clan in a good way. I don't mean to, okay. But again, I'm not, this is separate and distinct from her beliefs on a woman's right to choose, on healthcare, on a slew of things, on immigration, whole other ball of wax. People are confusing sometimes. People do good shit and then do really evil shit. So what do? Does evil outweigh? Usually it does, because you're like, okay, this is connected to another thing. And I can tell that I'm just ranting on. People that call someone nice, even though they're only nice to people they like. I don't call that person nice. I know a few people that can be assholes and just bitches to, and I use men and women when I say bitch. I hate when men only use bitch for women. Assholes and dicks to people, but once you get to know them, or if they warm up, they're nice to you. That's not a nice person. That's an asshole. You kind of judge people by their asshole behavior, not by their nice behavior, because once they know what you've accomplished or once they've accepted you, they're nice. That's not nice. That's agenda driven. I don't like it. I'm a nice person. I'm a fucking nice person. Okay. Do I have my moments? No, I don't. I actually don't have my moments. Well, maybe I had to have some moments. Is this a wine burp? There it was. It was there and it came and it went. I haven't had a lot to eat. This is my friend who I'm staying with right now, who's not here, doesn't have any heat or gas functioning. So I can't cook anything. And I'm tired of spending $26 on a Shake Shack burger. Is Shake Shack overrated? Is this another discussion? I'm going to say something right now that might be controversial. In-N-Out, overrated. In-N-Out is overrated. I'm sorry. I know people sometimes complain about the fries, but I think beyond the fries, they're overrated. And I do think it's all about the bun and the stuff you put on the bun. The meat, am I alienating my vegans? I went out with a militant vegan a month ago. The cliche about vegans is true. And I get why people are vegan. I think I've talked about this before. But there is some sort of impulse control that a vegan cannot control talking about veganism. I mean, they can't help it. A vegan cannot sit at a table with someone and not talk about, are you vegan? Are you meat eater? I can accept meat eaters. No, you can't. Why would you date a meat eater? I feel like this with people that are sober. And again, I know a lot of people in the program, and I feel like and I'm not talking about the people that have been sober 20 years and have no problem, but I do feel like it's something so central in your life. Why would you put yourself in a position to be with people that don't share that value system? Why would you want to be with me? I like a good steak. Do I agree that, cow slaughter is terrible and the methane and yeah, I agree with that. But once in a while I eat a steak. I'm not you know, not a gun-toting hunter. Seemed to have worked for Joe Rogan, though. He's got, what, 20 million gazillion followers, and he talks about his hunting and posts pictures of ribs. I don't know. Do vegans listen to Joe Rogan? Do vegans say, I enjoy Joe Rogan's content? You know, I don't know. Do they? I don't know. Maybe they do. He's got enough. I mean, can it all of his followers be meat eaters? Or are some vegans secretly enjoying Joe Rogan? I don't know. I feel strongly about a lot of stuff, but I don't know. I don't know. I mean, again, this is where the incoherence comes into play. I can't date a vegan unless they're a really mellow vegan, which I have not met yet. I did go on a date recently with someone who was a Freemason. I didn't know they were still active. In Los Feliz, I used to drive by a temple that said Freemason Temple. That really harkens to another era, doesn't it? Is it a men's club and they just smoke cigars, or do they deal with sorcery? This guy mentioned sorcery on the date. I don't know what context it was, but he suddenly said the words black magic and sorcery in a sentence relating to something modern day. So I don't know. I do find it, you know, I keep thinking, when I think like Freemasons, I think of Eyes Wide Shut, even though Eyes Wide Shut had nothing to do with Freemasons. There is something sexy about secret society, cults, symbols, but is there a place for them in today's society? I don't know. I've been watching The Vow. I don't know if you've been watching The Vow on HBO. I'm obsessed with cults. Can I just say something about cults? And I will, because I still have some time before my first guest, Fred Melamed, shows up. Brilliant actor. I love Fred so much. I did research on cults in my own spare time. There was a study, and I don't want to alienate my Scientology viewers. I don't know any Scientologists right now. I did meet years ago a nice Jewish boy who said to me, he asked me out, we got on the phone, and he said, I work at the Museum of Psychiatry, which is a known Scientology establishment. When you drive down Hollywood Boulevard, Museum of Psychiatry, psychiatry kills. That was the thing. But that's a whole other story. The minute he said that, I go, good luck. Again, like vegans and like sober, date another Scientologist. Why? Unless you want to recruit me, which with this hat, you can tell I will not be recruited. Okay? This screams no cult. You need to date another Scientologist. I mean, this is such a central part of your life. It's like an Orthodox Jew hanging out with Baha'i. I mean, you know what I mean? I don't know why I chose Baha'i. I feel like Baha'i kind of accept everything. So I feel like a Baha'i would date an Orthodox Jew. Maybe an Orthodox Jew wouldn't date a Baha'i. You want to keep it in the family, or not in the family literally, because that would not bode well for us. Where was I going? I was talking about, the cults. So there was a study that, and again, there's all these, and I don't use cult in a broad term, not just Scientology. There's other self-help groups that indoctrinate and also use terms. Hi, Fred. Fred's on already. I'm going to hide Fred for a minute and then I'll bring him on. There are organizations that use terminology in a new way to create a secret language that makes you feel in on not on the joke, but in on, you know what I mean? It's like, ooh, I'm accessing knowledge I would not otherwise be able to access. Like the forum. Now, again, I have a lot of friends that did the forum, EST, or used to be EST. It changed their life. I have other friends that got sucked in and are paying thousands of dollars for workshops. They use the word racket in a new way. I'm not going to go down that road because we want to start the show. At some point, we want to start the show. This has been the longest rant ever, and I do credit the very full-bodied red wine. I'm not I like my wine dry, and I like it full-bodied. I don't like my men dry and full-bodied. Maybe I do. You know what? Now that I think of it, maybe I like my men dry and full-bodied. That's not how I sell myself, even though I've become full-bodied. I gained more than 15 pounds, I think, during quarantine. This has stayed remarkably slender, so this is good for Zoom, even though this little double, see this? A little bit has happened, a little bit, but with duct tape, anything can be fixed. See that? Anything can be fixed. Bottom portion, little pear-shaped. I like pears. I'm a fan of the fruit. So I'm not worried about it too much. My dates may be. I'm getting emails. I should quit my email program. It's always annoying when you're Zooming with someone, you hear bing, bong, ching. I'm going to quit that. I quit that. Okay. I'm going to refresh the page. I'm going to bring Fred on. My first guest, Fred, and I hope I'm going to say Melamed, but you may correct me and say Melamed, as the Israelis do, Fred Melamed, or maybe be Fred Melamed. Fred, can you join us?
Glad.
Yay! Hi, Fred.
Hi, Iris. How are you?
I'm good. How do I pronounce it?
It's Melamed.
It is Melamed.
It is Melamed. I mean, properly it's Melamed, as you said.
Yes.
Although some Sephardics, like my family, said they said kind of Melamed.
I'm going to say Melamed, but you make.
Yeah.
So what is your ethnic background, Fred?
Do I look Jewish?
Yes, but you could also say to me that you have Finnish blood, and I would believe it. You know what I mean? I feel like you could also be like a Viking, and I'd be like, yeah, I get it, the long lineage of Vikings. So.
Well, I was adopted, so that's a somewhat complicated question. But from a physiological point of view, my father was a Sephardic Jew born in England. He was a psychoanalyst, and when he was a young lad, fairly young lad, the Blitz went on, and he lived in Kent, but the Blitz was happening, so he was sent to live with his grandmother in South Africa. So he spent his teenage years in South Africa, and then when he was about 17, he and his mother and father all moved to New York.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So he was a Sephardic Jew. My biological mother is a Hungarian Gentile. It's odd, since when you look at me, you know, I'm like under the Jew dictionary picture is my picture, but I'm actually technically, by the old standards of how people are judged to be Jewish, not Jewish. And I was never bar mitzvah or any of that stuff.
Oh, wow. Okay. But mother's side, not Jewish, according to the rabbis, but genetically, there's Jew in you.
On my father's side.
There's Jew in you. And were you raised by Jews?
My adoptive parents were both Jewish, although they were not observant and found the whole thing they were showbiz lefties. And they found the whole idea of religion, particularly the religion from which they sprouted, kind of amusing and laughable.
Can they be defined as communists?
Back in the day, yes.
Okay.
Back in the late 30s, yeah. My parents were older. My father was born in 1914. My mother was born in 1922.
Amazing.
So they were old enough to have really lived through the Depression. So that, you know, and come home from school and see their belongings out on the street after they'd been thrown out of their apartments. So they having had that in their seminal experiences, they grew up sympathetic to the idea that the working man has to be helped.
Was this in New York? Was this in LA? Obviously, you said there were showbiz people in New York. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, like Lower East Side situation or what?
No. My father grew up in the Bronx, and my mother grew up in Brooklyn.
Okay. Oh my God, I love that. Did you hear me rant and rave about people that adopt? Were you there for that portion?
I don't know. I only heard you talking a little bit about having put on a few LBs in quarantine. I missed the adoption part.
I was just saying, and I won't repeat all of it because I was ranting for I've had half a glass. I'm not a big drinker. I had half a glass of wine, and I feel like I'm just, you know, high as a kite. I was just saying that I've been watching the confirmation hearings, and as much as I disagree as much as I disagree with the woman's views of Amy Coney Barrett, I admire people that adopt. And I think that there's something so beautiful about raising an adopted child without that narcissistic, evolutionary, this person came from me, looks like me factor. There's a giving.
I agree with you, although I agree with you, and I admire people who adopt children, particularly children that are different than they are. However,
yes.
I would say from my own personal experience that the adoption process is not devoid of narcissism for certain people.
No, I was saying that too. Like people are like the savior syndrome and all that. But at the end of the day, once you adopt, you're taking this child on for the rest of their life. So I feel like even if initially you think like a savior, once you're doing the work, you know what I mean? It's still I don't know if you're comfortable talking about the circumstances of your adoption.
Oh, I'm happy to talk about it. Talk about it.
So how did that come about?
Well, okay. So I always knew that I was adopted. I was told that I was adopted as soon as I could talk, which was how parents were counseled to do it in those days. but I didn't really understand the specifics of it. I was told that I was chosen from a room full of babies. My parents said that they went into a room full of babies and I was smiling and they liked me and they chose me. I was curious and asked my parents questions about my origins when I was young, but as I grew older, I didn't have, as some people do, any kind of burning compulsion to find out, find my birth parents or find out what their real story was. I accepted what my parents said, and that was kind of all there was to it. And I didn't really worry about much. And then one day, when I was 27 years old, which is now 28 years ago or something like that, I came home for 38 years ago. I'm 64. So I came home today, one day, not today, I came home one day. I'd been playing cards. I lived in New York, and this is one of the days when there were still answering machines.
Okay.
And there was an answer on my machine saying, "My name is Nancy. Call me at such and such a number in California. And call me collect, and you can call late."
Collect. I remember calling collect.
Yeah. So I thought, well, this is from California. Maybe it's about work. I was already an actor, young actor. Okay. So I called her up. I said, "Hello." She said, "Is this Fred?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Well, you don't know me. My name is Nancy. I know that you know that you're adopted." And I said, "Yes, I do." And she said, "Well, I'm your birth mother. I'm your biological mother." And my head sort of began to spin a little bit. And we talked for about two or 3 hours that night, all about the circumstances of my nativity, my birth, my adoption, everything and all that. I asked her who my father was. I asked her all about what had led to the adoption, all that kind of stuff. And when she found out, she was also an actress and director. And she was when she found out that I was an actor and that I had been on Broadway and I went to Yale Drama School and she was like all excited about it. And it turned out that our paths had crossed many times. When I first got out of school, I'd gone to the Guthrie for a year, which is a theater out in Minnesota, in Minneapolis. And she had been there some years before I was there. And, we knew a lot of the same people and it was all very,
Oh, how surreal.
amazing. And I had a kind of a contentious relationship with the mother that raised me, my adoptive mother, kind of difficult relationship. And I wasn't sure whether, and Nancy, my biological mother, said to me, "Look, if you want to check and make sure that I'm telling you the truth about this, what you can do is you can go to the Hall of Records in the public library in New York, and you have a birth certificate. And if you're adopted, you have two birth certificates. You have your original birth certificate and then your adoptive birth certificate. And they're not cross-referenced anywhere. In other words, you can't go in with one and find the other one."
Oh, interesting.
Because they want to prevent people from doing that.
Right.
My adoption was a closed adoption, as many of them are. She said, "But if you check, you'll see both birth certificates have the same number."
So wait, when
So
you
I
said
didn't.
post-adoption, was Nancy legally allowed to contact you, or was that like part of
No.
the agreement that she was not allowed to do
No,
that?
she was not. She was not. And
I was
here's
like,
what
wait a
happened.
minute. Yeah.
Here's what happened. My parents were married for 10 years, unable to have children, wanted to have children. And they had a friend who had adopted a child. And their friend did it through this woman, Fanny, I've forgotten her last name, who would set up these private adoptions, who was an obstetrician / abortionist in those days. And she lived in Queens. Now, it turns out that Nancy, my biological mother's mother, had gone to performing arts high school in New York. And her best friend in performing arts was a woman called Crystal Field. Crystal Field was a well-known kind of person in the downtown theater scene in New York. She and her husband started a theater called Theater for the New City.
Yeah, of course. I know Theater for the New City. Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she ran that theater, started it and ran it for many years. So Crystal Field and Nancy were pals, and Crystal Field's mother was this obstetrician / abortionist, right, who set up these private adoptions. So my parents actually set up this adoption. Nancy became pregnant at the age of, I think she was 20. I don't remember exactly. I think she was 20, somewhere 19, 20. And my parents paid for her to live for the latter 6 months of her pregnancy in Crystal Field's house in Queens while I came to term.
God.
And Nancy told me that the only thing she did, all she did for those 6 months was eat chocolate and read Shakespeare. It kind of sums up the rest of my life. Anyway, so Nancy said, we had all this stuff. I thought, okay, so I'm going to tell I should tell my parents about it. You know, I wasn't sure. And then my friend said, look, in matters of state, it's best to come clean.
Okay.
So I said, this woman called me. Her name is Nancy Zala. She says she's my biological mother. Is this true? And my parents kind of looked at each other and they went, yes, it is true. And what had happened was they had a cousin who was, they tried to save a few shekels, and they hired a cousin who was a lawyer, who was used to doing like real estate, had no experience in adoptions, handle the adoption. And he wasn't supposed to show the papers for each party to the opposite party with the names and addresses and phone numbers, but of course he did.
Oh my God, this is crazy.
So he messed up. So they both knew each other's information.
Right.
So Nancy told me that she had fantasized her whole life about, you know, like moving in next to me and watching me grow up. And it became clear to me in short order that I kind of represented every lost opportunity, every dream deferred or lost in her life to her.
Wait, so anyway, how old were you when she contacted you? Because you said
27.
You're 27.
Yeah.
And you were already a working actor. And she probably said, those are my genes, right? She took a little credit for that. She's like, you're an actor because of me. Okay, fair enough.
So she said, listen, I live in California, but I'm coming to New York soon. Would you like to meet? So I said, well, yeah. So I remember very clearly walking into the bar of the San Remo Hotel on 57th Street with a big box of pictures, photographs of, you know, my growing up, my mother and father, my sister. I have a sister who's their biological child. As often happens, 6 years later, they had a child of their own biologically.
Right.
You know, of Fire Island, growing up in Fire Island, me in school, you know, just pictures like that.
Let me ask a quick question though. You said you had a contentious relationship with the parent that raised you. Were you at this point like not doing it out of spite, but how did she feel about it? And were you like, I'm going to meet my real mom? Was it that, or
No.
Okay.
No, there was none of that in it at all for me.
Okay.
Except that I felt there was no bitterness in it, but I felt because of the way my mother was and the way that I responded. When I say my mother, I mean the mother that adopted me.
Yeah.
My mother was a person of volcanic emotions.
Okay.
And a kind of very narcissistic worldview, meaning that it was very difficult to discriminate between what made her feel good and what was good for everybody else.
Right.
And you kind of had to either bend to her will or become subsumed by it. She was just such a huge force of nature and so powerful in her emotions. And at a very young age, an age before I was prepared to do this, I felt that in order to survive, I had to kind of extricate myself from her grasp and be separate when I was still, you know, an infant.
Right.
And I think this left me, feeling lonely and desiring somebody to have that level of her will or become subsumed. Oh, I hear myself coming back.
No, sorry. Yeah.
Anyway, this left me sort of permanently lonely and feeling like I'd like to be that close to somebody, but that it was implicitly dangerous. Anyway, so I was kind of looking for somebody, and this was a kind of a tough period in my life when I was this age. Anyway, so there was no bitterness towards the mother that raised me, but I needed something. And I also kind of felt that vibe from Nancy, also from my biological mother. So I remember going into this bar, this hotel where she was staying with these pictures, and she had pictures, and talking to her. And it's the strangest experience because you look alike.
Right.
And not only do we look alike, but we talked alike. The way we express ourselves, the way we gesticulate, all that stuff. So shockingly similar considering I never met her before.
Right. Well, it's like all those twin studies, right? Where twins that are separated at birth and then they connect and they're both in the same profession and they talk and sound, you know, it's that nature versus nurture.
Well, there was one particular thing at that meeting that made me know. We were sitting there talking in the bar, and it was maybe, I don't know, 10 o'clock or 10:30 at night. And she said, listen, I'm kind of hungry. Is there a place we can go to just get like a hamburger or something that's still open? So this is a long time ago. This is the 80s. So there were Jackson Hole restaurants all over New York at the time. I don't know if so I said, well, yeah, there's a Jackson Hole down the street. We can go get a hamburger. So we go to Jackson Hole, and we're sitting there, you know, kind of looking at each other and talking and eating. And she had on this beautiful white blouse, silk, like fancy blouse. And she took a bite of the hamburger, and about a cup of ketchup came squirting out of the back of it. And I knew, if I had any doubt prior to that, that this was actually my biological mother, I knew at that moment that we were, you know, deeply related.
Oh, that's so funny. How did that inform, like, that relation? Obviously, you stayed in touch. You developed a relationship after that. You stayed in touch, and did that inform your work? Did your work change? Did you feel like, as a human, as an adult, as an artist, something shifted after that?
Well, it's complicated. I mean, I found the relationship with her also became, I'm still friends with her, and she lives out here, and she's still alive, unlike my other parents that raised me, who are both gone now. But it became complicated because it became clear to me, as I said, that she wanted me, I represented a lot of things to her that were lost. And I think she wanted, and to some degree expected me to act with the filial sense of obligation and also affection that would have been appropriate had she raised me, but in fact she hadn't.
Right, right.
And she was mercurial in her emotions also, and very easy to turn. She could very easily get angry, and also she told me who my father was, and I pursued a relationship with this guy that was my father, who was an artist. And then about 4 years into this, she said to me, listen, you know the guy that I said was your father? I said, yes.
Where's this going?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I said, well, he's not. It's somebody else. So I got very angry at this and very upset. And I said, well, why did you tell me it was this guy and allow this guy to believe it and me to believe it? And I said, well, it was this other guy, and this other person that it was actually somebody who I didn't really know as well. And the guy that I said it was somebody that I really loved, and I kind of wished it was.
So it's just the year of magical thinking a little bit.
Yeah, well, again, it's this narcissistic, not to make much of this point, but there are some people who have this idea that if it makes them feel good, it must be good for the world.
Right. Well, it's also interesting. First of all, this is a fascinating story. And this whole private adoption, artistic community, let's pass the babies around scenario is kind of surreal, but it's also surreal, the similarities and some qualities between your biological mom and your adoptive mom, right? It's not like you got, well, the adoptive mom was the biological was this crazy artist, and then the adoptive mom was this. No, this is not. You got that from both sides in a way.
Yes, I did, and and it didn't stop. It didn't stop there.
Oh boy.
It didn't stop there. Now, I mean, I think as far as those two are concerned, I can't claim any culpability. I think that just kind of happened.
Yes.
But I think there were certain paradigms set up in me.
Right.
Not, kind of some fucked up things that probably I continued, some maladaptions, let's say, to things.
Yes. I think we all do, right? I mean, we all are the product of our parents. I'm always amazed where I'm like in therapy 20 years later and I'm still talking about parent stuff. And I'm like, this shit never goes away. Like, it's just, you're still talking about it. I'm like, I'm still 5 years old.
long in the ground, and I'm still trying to, but that's the way we are, that's the way we are. And, and the truth of the matter is, you don't get over exactly your neurotic predispositions and the psychodynamic forces that make life difficult, but you find ways of can find ways of coping with them.
Or just masking them really well to the right people.
Well, the thing is, most people either want to replay the scene with a similar
Yes.
parent and get a better outcome, or
Yes.
they want the opposite. You know, if your mother was a I went through I went through a long period where I was only interested in Asian girls.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
this is humorous to me now, but you know, my mother was so demanding and so full of correction and always telling me how to do everything,
Right.
that I needed someone who was rather obsequious and, you know,
And just, yeah.
yeah.
Well, I feel like it's always interesting. For a while, I would, I'm glad we got into the psychotherapy, because I haven't had therapy in weeks because I got tired of the Skype therapy. So I'm glad I can let this out now with you, Fred. But for a while, I would find myself, yes, like you said, seeking out partners that resembled, you know, all the negative qualities that I dealt with my parents, in a kind of repetition compulsion, going, I'm going to master this. I'm going to
You're going to win. You're going to get the outcome that you felt you should have had.
You should have had, as opposed to saying, let me not hang out with someone that brings this out in me. Let me hang out with someone that does not trigger this in me. And that was the big learning curve, because as opposed to like this, like, I'm going to learn how to do that. Let me hang out with an, you know what I mean? And it's such a moment. And I envy, because you see a lot of people that do that repetition compulsion, you know, that marry their mother or father.
Endlessly. Let me tell you a great, sad psychological truth. Okay,
I'm gonna eat a cracker. I'm sorry, the wine. I'm trying to absorb the wine.
Fine. Go ahead.
Eating a cracker. I'm gonna be quiet about it.
No, go ahead. Here's a strange truth, but it's absolutely real. When someone is the victim of a kind of oppression in a relationship, particularly a formative relationship, like with a parent, like you have one parent who is abusive or completely overpowering or bossy or somehow overpowers the weaker party.
Right.
You might think that the dream of that overpowered party would be to be free of the whole paradigm, to say, I don't want this whole kind of imbalancing. In fact, what people dream of and what they seek is to find the opposing situation.
Where they're overpowering. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why
100%.
people who are sexually abused wind up sexually abusing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it.
It's a sad truth that people don't want to leave the fucked up model. They want to win at the fucked up model.
Yeah, no, it is. And however you win it, whatever that illusion of control you have, whether it is trying to master it by repeating the same scenarios or just acting out in the same way. I remember and this will be my last trauma of the day, and I want to talk about some of your acting work before we
that.
I remember I met a guy that I really kind of fell for, and he had been cheated on by his girlfriend with his best friend. So he was scarred. He was scarred. And I was not the rebound. Maybe I'd like to think I wasn't the rebound. I was the rebound. But he ended up cheating on me. Now, he had never cheated on anybody in his life, but this was his control. I'm like, but this is something you hated that happened to you. Why'd you do it to me? But again, it's not a conscious, it's a stronger force. And I guess, you know what I mean? And that it wasn't like a pathological cheater. He just needed to know what that felt like in this revenge scenario. And I was the victim. It was a sad time. It was a sad time.
So can I ask? I'm curious if I'm not asking too personal a question.
Please.
Since we're talking personal.
We're going personal. We didn't talk about the Coen brothers today. Let's go personal. We talked about abortion, scarring, adoption, everything. My being cheated on.
So what kind of guys in general excite you?
Wow, Fred, that's the $1 million question. I mean, I've run the gamut. I don't respond well to passive people because I'm so active and proactive in my life. What I'm looking for, the perfect man for me, would be strong enough in their masculinity, and I use that in traditional, to be okay with a strong woman. I feel like I've found certain men that are attracted to a strong, independent woman, but they're looking kind of to be mothered. And I am never able, and then I end up feeling like I'm wearing the pants. Again, I'm using this because I don't like those traditional, wearing the pants. And it's like, well, I'd also like time to be tender and soft and let someone else manage things. And it's a hard combination to find, because you either find men that feel emasculated and lash out, or you feel like they're so, soft and like passive that I'm like, I lose respect for them. So how do you find that perfect combination of someone who's, you know, just confident and doesn't feel a need to, you know, swing their cock around, to be vulgar for just a second. So that's kind of what I'm looking for, because I found that when I deal with that, I end up becoming too strong. But I don't want someone who's a rageaholic, who's uber alpha male, because I end up kind of cowering. So how do you find that? And it's a unicorn. I have yet to find them. Yet it's yet to happen. So I'm looking out.
Okay. So is that an idea, or is that actually what you're attracted to? Because what I'm curious is not what, that's an idea.
An idea. You know what? You're right. I don't know. I go case by case. I don't make any preconception, you know. As you get older and you have a kid, you know, I joke about this, that I keep meeting sad dads that end up, I become their therapist, and they're talking about there was always a crazy ex, why is there always a crazy ex? Like, you know, there's no self-awareness of the scenario they're in, and they're not healed yet. So it gets harder as you get older and you have a child and you're dealing with.
So are they usually people that also have kids?
I've run, like I said, I've run the gamut. I've gone from men in their 40s and 50s that don't have kids, and that's a whole other level of narcissism. And then I'm kidding, but you know, and then I'm dealing with people that have kids that are just weeping to me at the table for 2 hours because their family unit is broken. I'm talking about people that have been with someone for 20 years or 25
I hear you.
years.
I understand.
It's not an easy situation to be in. And they moved out of the big house. They live in some shithole in Yonkers. They're not used to not seeing their kids. And here I am going, I'm in a good mood. You know what I mean? And they're weeping at the table. So it's challenging. I mean, it's challenging. And as someone who's, again, very proactive and strong and direct, that's also a cultural thing that's hard for people, you know? And I can't deal with the passive or the skirting. I can handle anything as long as someone's being direct and honest with me. I think that's my big thing. So, Fred, if you know anybody, please funnel them my way. My God. Maybe we could talk to Crystal Field. Maybe she has like a new business. She's left the obstetrics and abortion clinic and has now moved on to setting up damaged people with other damaged people. Before we wrap up, I know we don't have a lot of time. Are you working on anything now? You know, I love your work so much. So I think you're so brilliant. You're such a brilliant actor. You make me laugh all the time, and I love it so much. So what's going on?
I have a bunch of things in the pipeline that, thankfully, most of which got done, or my part got done before the COVID shit hit the fan.
The COVID fan? Yeah.
Yeah. I have a show will be premiering in December on Disney Plus, which is a Marvel show called WandaVision.
Oh.
It's a big tentpole, you know, Marvel super duper presentation with all the big Marvel stars in it. And the way it works now at Marvel, I've found out, is that the television shows and the movies all have the same actors and the same characters in them, and you move back and forth if you're lucky.
Okay.
So I have this new show called WandaVision, which will be, I can't tell you too much about it, except that it's really, really kind of mind-blowing and interesting.
I felt like I saw a trailer. It was like,
yeah, the trailer. They just showed the trailer on the Emmys, and they showed it again on some big Super Bowl type thing. So I'm in that. That will be happening on Disney Plus in December. I also have a couple of features that are coming out. Hang on one sec.
No problem.
I'm so old.
You got to look them up. You got to see what you worked on.
That's exactly right.
Oh, Fred, dementia's tough. Dementia's tough. I know. We'll get through it together.
Okay. So here's what I have that's coming. I have a film, the first film from Paramount Animation, the reformulated Paramount Animation, called Rumble.
Okay.
That will be opening the beginning of 2021. I also have a film called Marzipan, kind of interesting take on spy films, very psychedelic, interesting take. Another comedy that I really enjoyed doing called Togetherish, with Ed Helms and Patty Harrison, Tig Notaro, and I play Nora Dunn's husband in that, and I play Ed Helms' dad in that. Then I have WandaVision, which I told you about.
Yeah.
And then I have a film that's just opening now called Shiva Baby, which is, we talked about Judaism. It's kind of interesting.
I feel like I saw a poster for that for some reason.
Yeah, it just won some big prizes at South by Southwest and the Toronto International Film Festival. It stars a young woman called Rachel Sennett, and I play her father, and Polly Draper is her mother.
Oh.
And she's a kind of a casual sex worker, college student in the movie. and she gets called to go to a shiva of somebody that she doesn't really know, along with her parents, me and Polly Draper, and a guy shows up who she's been having this kind of sugar baby relationship with at the shiva with his family that she didn't know about. That's what the idea of this.
I like it. I know I hate these questions. What do you prefer? Do you have a preference for comedy over drama, or you like both equally? I can't even speak anymore.
I like them both. I'm more often called upon to do comedy because you know how it works when people see you one way, they kind of associate you with that. But it's funny because early on in my career, I was mostly playing villains, lots and lots of mean villains.
Are you at a point in your career where these are straight offers, or do you still have to audition sometimes?
Fortunately for me, I rarely audition.
That's
rarely
nice.
audition.
I feel like I'm a great actor. I'm not a good auditioner. That's been my downfall sometimes.
Nobody likes it. Nobody likes it.
Yeah, some people are good at it though. Do you know what I mean? But I can really sabotage myself sometimes, even though.
Well, I want to tell you two other things that I forgot to tell you.
Please.
I have two animated shows that are on the air. One is called F is for Family, and I'm in the new season of that. That will be coming around in a few months. That's Bill Burr's show.
Oh, I love Bill Burr.
On Netflix. And then I have another one that will be premiering soon called Summer Camp Island. I'm on this season of Summer Camp Island also, which is
Summer Camp. I feel like I think I auditioned, or did I do voiceovers for Summer Camp Island? I feel like
you might well have. It's been on for a couple of years already.
Well, I feel like I did something for Summer Camp Island. I did.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. Wow, I feel like I learned something about myself today. I don't know what it is yet, Fred, but I feel like all our talks, I feel like I need to get a journal and hone in about the man I really want. I feel like when you asked me that question, I was like, uh-oh, should I do a vision board? I don't know what's going on anymore. So thank you for that. And I think that you should write a screenplay about your adoption, because that's a show in itself, Fred. I mean, come on. New York, 70s, 80s, theater for the new city.
You know, other people have said that because it's a story that I've told a lot of people. I have another thing that I'm working on in a show, but we'll talk about that another time. Unless I don't want to.
I love you, Fred. So people can keep a breath. Do you have a website, or just people just should look out for the stuff that you mentioned?
No, I'm on Facebook, which is no website. I don't do any of that web stuff.
The social media stuff. Okay.
Not very expertly anyway. No, I don't.
But I love you, Fred. I feel like I want to give you a hug. It's been so long since I saw you in person. It's kind of outrageous. It's been a couple.
I would gladly put a plastic bag over my head and hug you passionately.
Oh, thank you. I feel like I need a 46-minute hug at this point. I've gotten so slutty. I've started shaking hands. I mean, I just went to see my friend play jazz on the corner here in Tribeca, and I shook the sax player's hand. I'm getting slutty. So I don't know what's happening. It's a sad state of affairs, but I did wash my hands when I came home. I did. I washed them.
I wear rubber gloves all the time, so I can fist people on the bus. It doesn't matter.
That's a delightful image to leave us with. Fred MELAMED fisting random people on public transportation.
Yes.
New typecast. Thank you, Fred, so much for joining.
Great
I love you so much, and congrats on all the amazing work and thank you for being so honest and open with us with your story. Even though I feel like you told it to a lot of people, I felt like I was special. And then you're like, no, I've told this story to a lot of people.
Well, you are special.
Thank you.
You are special. I appreciate talking to you. It's a pleasure.
I love you, Fred. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you.
Thank you. Okay. Take care.
Bye. How's everybody doing? I need to pee, but I'm holding it in. I don't know if you can see that in my face. I'm going to bring Jason Kaplan. Jason Kaplan and I met many years ago. I'll bring him on. Let me just bring him on so he can come and tell you our story, which isn't as juicy as one would think. Hi. Jason, when did we date? Was it like 20 years ago? And it was brief.
We dated?
Didn't we date? Oh, God, I can't believe you don't remember and I do. That's even more embarrassing.
It was before I moved to LA.
Before you moved to LA?
Yeah. Thought I was visiting or something like that. And,
oh, my God. I don't think we even hooked up. We just like went out on a couple of dates and became friends. Yeah. It was one of those instant friend situations.
Yeah.
And I was crying at home. You're in front of what I assume is a bagel oven.
I was trying to figure out where in my 5 square feet that I have here I should pose myself. Yeah, this is my oven. The big. It's not even that. I have another oven in storage. This is a like a traditional New York style. There's a carousel in there.
Ah, okay. I know I want to dispel some notions. Obviously, you're a New Yorker as well, yeah? Or no? You
know, no, I grew up outside of DC, but I lived in New York from the mid 90s until a few 2003 or 4 around.
okay? Because obviously, I do believe, as a whole, it's much easier to get a great bagel in New York than it is in LA, which is, I guess, why you cornered that market, because you're like, what the fuck? Is it the water? Is that just one of those stupid mythologies? It's the water. It's the water. I'm like, so bring in the fucking water. Like, what is the water?
I don't think so. A lot of people ask that. I don't think so. I think it's a convenient thing to say. If you took any self-respecting bagel maker or pizza maker or whatever and brought them out here, and I'm pretty sure they could make something indistinguishable from what they were making. There's not actually that much water in a bagel. It's a very low concentration.
It's a minute amount.
Yeah, but there's something special about standing on a corner in New York and eating a slice of pizza, or having a cup of coffee, or eating gelato in Florence. Those are very specific experiences, and the food is part of it. So yeah, of course, having a bagel not in New York is going to feel different.
No, but I do think on a very bare bones like I go to the deli or the bodega and have a bagel anymore. It's a great bagel. I mean,
well, they don't know.
LA, you can't find that.
Yeah, that's largely because they don't know what they're going for. They don't have an opinion on it. If you grew up in LA, then what your benchmark is very different than what if you grew up in New York. So
when did you decide to get into because you weren't a baker, right? Like, when did you start baking and become the bagel guy? Like, when did that idea sprout, and how did it come about?
A friend of mine, at this point, like 12 or 15 years ago, thought it would be a good idea to put a bagel shop in Silver Lake. And so we started investigating, and she lost interest. And I sort of filed it away as a thing that I could do, or might be a thing to do, because I was looking for something new after the film business. And then when the opportunity to work at Jelena, which is a local,
I like Jelena in Venice. Yeah.
Venice. When that came about, I said, all right, well, let me see if I have the chops for the restaurant business. And I was like, I'll do this for a year. And then a year turned into 4 or 5. And at a certain point during my tenure there, I made it known that I was interested in pursuing a bagel project, and I had to put it in my contract that if I was going to keep working there, that they had to let me work on my bagel recipe. And
where did you do the research on that? Did you start paying people secret money to get their secret bagel recipe? Or
I have an aunt who went to New York in the 50s and spent thousands of dollars. I can't tell you how much, but for a cheesecake recipe and a Caesar salad recipe for her restaurant called the Babalu Room down in Miami. For me, it was a lot of reading books. It came from I started making bread. That was how I ended up working at Jelena in a way. But it was just books, watching videos, and then sort of if you have an idea of what you're going for with whatever food product it is, there are only a certain number of starting points, and then after that it's just trial and error and working towards what your goal is. So if you're looking for a fudgy brownie,
right,
you're gonna
there's
start
only so much you can do. So so do we attribute the scarcity of good bagels is because there's just not as much of an interest? It's a little bit of the water, and it's just people not take, because I know Brooklyn Bagel, are they your competition? Are they much bigger? Or do you have a niche audience? What's your
I don't see anyone as my competition, because bagels are a very neighborhood specific thing. If you were in New York and someone on 76th Street says, "Oh, a guy over on 61st Street just opened a bagel shop," you'd be like,
"Yeah, fuck you." Right.
So what?
Yeah. Right.
So, it's only that because now it's you have to photograph everything and everyone has to write about what's new and what's hot. Then it's here's the 12 top bagel places in LA, and you're like, well, good, I'm going to go to the one that's close to my house. Most of our customers.
Did you end up getting funding? Did you fund it yourself? Did you have to look for investors?
I had two friends, close friends, that chipped in a little bit, which ended up being a very small percentage, and mostly it was me doing a pop-up first like at a coffee shop, and I did Smorgasburg, and I for the longest time I was doing Hollywood Farmers Market.
Right.
And because I didn't have a shop and I didn't have any, a staff to support and stuff, I just ended up funding most of the project myself with just, my wife's a teacher, and I was like just kind of funneling all the money into new equipment, and eventually that's kind of what happened. So has
it become lucrative, or you're still trying to break even for the investment?
No, it's lucrative. I mean, it's
amazing.
I don't know about lucrative, but it's, I support myself, and it's fine. We have a lot of regulars. I love it seeing I catch up with everyone for 10 seconds, several times a week. And we have some people that schlep across town or wherever to come get their bagels on the weekends or whatever. Now it's like very easy without.
Are you doing the whole bagel cream cheese lox thing, like super Jewy, the whitefish salad? You're doing all the salads too?
I am, because, there's some people in town that are like having their modern day twists on all kinds of stuff. For me, I feel like one of the reasons, getting back to what you were saying before, a lot of people in LA just haven't experienced like the appetizing culture that I'm familiar with, and like the deli culture where you go into the supermarket in the back and you point at the stuff in the cases. So I wanted people to have the experience that I had growing up, which is a very specific type of sandwich, very specific offering. So yeah, we've got sable, we've got kippered salmon and whitefish salad and stuff like that. And, I'm not mixing like hemp seeds into my bagels or anything like that, but someone else is going to do that. It's fine. If you want, like,
I like your traditional. I feel like sometimes people try too hard. I mean, sure, do I need strawberry cream cheese? I don't. Do I need a weird ass bagel? No, I'm happy with everything. You know what I mean? So I guess it's fun to experiment sometimes, but there's something very comforting about the rustic daughters or whatever. You're going in, you're getting your smoked fish, but it is a Jewy thing. I feel like Jew food culture is much more rampant on the East Coast than it is on the West Coast. I mean, West Coast has the burrito and the taco thing nailed down, and that's kind of like the local thing. But maybe if you go to the West Side, but East Side, you're right. Like there was nothing there.
Yeah, that's what it is. So for me, I just am trying to introduce people, or at least give people a chance to have something. And in a bunch of cases, it's people who like remember what they grew up with, and they haven't been able to find it, and so they're happy about that. But I have a lot of people, who are raising their kids here, and they say, oh, I really wanted my kid to have what I had. And honestly, it's mostly selfish. I just want to eat this all the time. So, this is what we have at the shop is what I want to eat.
That's good. That's very narcissistic and delightful of you, and I'm happy you're doing it. So I want to send everybody to Maury. Now, is Maury a family member, or it just sounded super Jew, and you were like, let me just name it?
My middle name. So, it's more bagel-y sounding than Jason. So I was like, I
dated a guy named Maury? This is killing me.
I know.
Shit.
None of my friends, no one ever knew what my middle name was, or I would just like swear them to secrecy. And then suddenly I'm like, Maury.
I love that you have the name of like a 70-year-old Jewish man from the shtetl. It's like, you know what I mean? Because it's like, if it's Jason's Bagels, I feel like they're gluten-free and they're vegan and there's like a spin cycle next door. But Maury's Bagels, you could tell people I'm a 5th-generation bagel maker from the Ukraine, and they would believe you. Like, there's no need to create another backstory.
Yeah.
So, very smart.
Bagels are my middle name.
Yeah, exactly. Boy. Go to Maury's Los Angeles, Silver Lake. Is there a website? Or I want to send people to you.
Yeah, you can go to maurysbagels.com. Just come on over. Yeah.
I'm going to come over. When I get back from New York, I'm going to be needing some decent bagels. Yeah. That's all I have to say. Thank you, Jason. I love you.
Love you too. Thanks for having me.
Good luck with everything. And I'm going to stop your video. I'm just doing it. I hate to be so like aggressive, and goodbye. Our final guest of the evening is an amazing woman that I met a few years ago. We were working together. I think we're developing her one-woman show. She's got a fascinating history as well. And she's a brilliant comic and performs all across New York City and now all across Zoom. SONYA VAI, come on up. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right. Dun, da, 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 da. Yay!
How are you?
All right, I'm going to ask you a favor, SONYA.
Yeah, go ahead. You want to go pee?
I got to pee. You entertain.
Go pee.
I'm going to mute because I have such a stream that I feel like the stream is going to overpower you. It's like a fucking racehorse. So I'm going to urinate.
Go do it.
If you want. You're well versed in.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who's watching. Sorry?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm going to
go ahead. Go pee. Go pee. Go pee. I'll don't worry. I'll fill it in. Hey guys, I don't know who's watching because I can't see who's on, but like my new background, look, see, now I can tell everyone I'm still in New York. I am, even though I never go outside anymore. And even though things are opening up, I feel like it's just the weather's gone bad. And, you know, Reese was talking about going back to LA with Maury, and we're Jason Kaplan from Maury's Bagels, and I can't wait to go back to LA. Although I heard you can't breathe out there right now, so maybe there's no good place to go, which is why I'm sitting in front of my computer trying to fill dead air. I don't know. I can always amuse myself. I feel like I'm talking to a void. Like this isn't really happening. This is all happening in my head, and I'm just pretending that there's audience out there, and it's working. Because look, I'm going, and she's back! Yay!
Oh, there's something so gratifying about a really good urination.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
is.
Oh, that was fantastic.
Yay!
I miss you. I haven't seen
I miss you too.
You look beautiful as always with the freedom tower in the background.
You like that? You like this?
That's amazing. How do we master? You have a green screen or just a virtual background? The Zoom.
It's just a virtual background on Zoom. I do have a green screen, and when you put that up and then you put the virtual background, it's better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like right now, see how like you're like you disappear if there's no.
Yeah, there's weird. I remember I went on a TV show. They didn't tell me it was green screen, and I wore green, and I was pretty much a floating head, which was kind of cool. I was like, yes. What's going on? I met you like, what was it, 4 years ago, I guess, right? We were working on your one-woman show and your background, your relationship to India and your Indian heritage.
I think it 4 years ago because I moved back to New York 4 years ago.
Yeah, I think
maybe it was right when I moved back. You're right.
We both moved here.
Yes, that's
and then after a few years, I was like, I'm going back to LA, which was not an easy decision. But I felt, and tell me how you feel now. But it's like obviously I miss doing stand-up. I don't do stand-up in LA just because it's like starting to hustle there. It's like here it's so much easier and people. Yeah. But I got tired of living like a student. I mean, you saw me with my kid. It was like a U dorm. I mean, it was insane.
Yeah.
So
I don't blame you, especially because your son. How is he doing, by the way?
He's delightful. He's gotten into EDM. He's 8 years old and he's making these music tracks. He's like, this one's got a great drop. I love
That's
tracks.
amazing.
What's happening? I'm going to put him up at the W Hotel and just be like an 8-year-old DJ.
That's so adorable. And that's going to be in. That's how everyone's going to come to the party because it's going to be an 8-year-old DJ.
Exactly. I think how are you doing? How's your material evolved? You still tell me about your stand-up trajectory over the last couple of years.
I mean, I'm, until the quarantine hit, this year was looking out to be really good. I started doing feature gigs on the road and I was just performing every night. And things were really great. I had a lot more material. I was feeling really good about it. It was great getting paid for the first time to do comedy, actual paychecks. Yeah. More than just like the $20.
For sure.
And then of course COVID hit. And so I was like, this is just my luck. I bust my ass in New York for 3 years and boom.
Well, what's your, what's the goal? Like, is the goal late night or is the goal like a special or is there no goal and you're just enjoying doing it and that's it?
No, my goal is to like sell at MSG. I want to make 10 million people laugh. Like that's it. I want to do comedy all over the world. I don't want to necessarily do road comedy, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think that just means, getting, having a presence somewhere, either it being online or on television. Actually, during COVID, since I had so much time off, I wrote a pilot, and and it's loosely based on that solo show that we're working on.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
You have such a fascinating story, and this whole notion of Indian identity. I mean, how have your parents been dealing with the comedy pursuit? I mean, are your parents is involved with in your adult life as they were when you were a kid, and how?
They don't know I do comedy.
They still don't know you do comedy?
They still don't know. No, they still don't know. Yeah. I know people, it's so funny when I see a reaction, I've had different people have different reactions and some people, it's just like, it's so shocking to them that this is something I wouldn't tell my parents. And yet for me, it wasn't even something I thought twice about. Right. So
do you feel a sense of shame or just that you don't want to deal with the headache of them giving you shit for doing comedy?
It's the latter for sure. Like I definitely don't feel any shame doing comedy, but I know that my father would shame me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think it's just to protect myself from that shame. You know what I'm saying?
No, I get. No, wait. Do you have siblings?
I do. I have a much older sister, and we're more than a decade apart. So we weren't that close either. When I moved to once I moved to LA and told her I was pursuing my dreams, that was also like I was persona non grata. So, but I told her about 2 years ago,
And was she
and
supportive and excited about seeing your material and stuff?
I mean, she came to a show about a year later,
Okay.
but it's still
For a year,
progress.
but that's okay.
Yeah.
But late than never.
Yeah, I mean, it's we also are trying to, I guess, working on repairing our relationship.
Okay. Okay.
And so it's, just there's so many complex things in my family, so many
As we've learned
complicated
today
things.
from everybody, right? Everybody's got their story. It's kind of insane.
Yeah.
But does it pain you at all to not be able to share? Like, do you deep down, have you let go of the part that doesn't want your parents' approval and like support? Have you really let that go? Or is it still a little bit like, oh, I wish I could show them this and I want to hear great job, Sonia. And like,
Yeah, no, I don't think I'll ever let go of wanting that. I don't think any child really
I don't think
does.
you can.
Yeah, I don't think you can. I think that will always be like a painful thing for me, as is my childhood. Like, I'm
Yeah.
never going to be able to, I think Chris Rock actually said it. He goes, the pain never goes away.
Right.
You just learn how to deal with it, and then you can also do amazing things with it.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is, and that kind of fuels my purpose as well, to be like, okay, I went through this journey,
Right.
and now I'm here. And it's funny because before COVID, of course, my goal was money related, right? It was like, I want to make $10 million. Like, that was always how like Jim Carrey wrote that check out.
Very worthy artistic endeavor. Like,
I know, right?
To make $10 million.
I know. But you know what I mean? Like that check that I think Jim Carrey wrote for himself, right?
Oh, right. I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. So that's sort of why I did it. And then during COVID, I think a lot changed for me. And I was like, I'm not even going to think about the money anymore. Now I just want to make 10 million people laugh.
Yeah.
Because I really think if I can make 10 million people laugh, that will be something for me that, I will have touched those lives. And that's what I want. That is my purpose on earth, is to make people laugh, to, let them know things are going to be okay, especially for people who've had difficult childhoods where it's like, you can still live your life. It's a lot tougher and you have to go to therapy.
And you're a comic. I have yet to meet, maybe I've met one or two well-adjusted comics, but they are few and far between. And artists in general. I mean, there's a reason, right? I mean,
I
got to find some purpose to deal with all the shit.
Right.
Feel like, let me just justify, you know what I mean, having all this shit and put it into the art. Are you still dating comics, or you've branched out?
I actually have been in a relationship for almost 2 years now.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He is a comedian as well. When you spend 24 hours a day doing comedy, it's really hard to meet people outside of comedy.
Can I ask who it is?
Yeah, his name is Eric Branstein. He's wonderful.
Okay.
But it's funny because he is one of those that you mentioned who's few and far between. He's
a
that
nice,
guy.
solid. Okay,
he's a great guy.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Eric Branstein. He's a Jew, so
he's
I'm
a Jew.
happy to do with that. That makes
that he is.
happy. I'm not going to ask. So when are the kids coming? I'm not going to do that.
I don't want to have children.
So perfect. So then there's no question.
There's no pressure.
Yeah. Eric will have to deal with his mother in that department, and you don't have. It's not your problem.
I don't have to deal with it.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
What's your performance schedule like now? Are you doing the park shows? What's happening?
I did a park show this past weekend. Actually, tomorrow I'm doing a great Zoom show. It's a fundraiser for Bergen Community College.
Okay.
And that's going to be really exciting because they're going to do like a virtual studio audience. And then they're going to send it out almost as a television show.
Okay.
We'll see how it goes. It's a Zoom experiment, right? But
how did they find you? Are you affiliated with Bergen Community College in any way, shape, or form?
No, not at all. I did very few in-person shows during COVID. Obviously, like until June, the end of June, July, everything was on lockdown, right? But even after things opened up, I was just really too nervous to do anything, and I just had a lot of anxiety over performing in public, and we still just didn't know enough about the virus, and I still think we don't. But I have now started to do I'm trying. I'm wading in is what that's like.
Wade in, take your time.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
I did a park show. I had a blast, but at this point, I could be performing for like 2 heroin-laden squirrels, and I'd be happy. You know,
right? Exactly. I think that's what it is. You forget the feeling.
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, but it's also interesting how I feel like as an artist, because I'm not, I'm an artist.
Yes,
That
you are an
audience-
amazing one.
Thank you. The audience has so much more compassion
Yes.
for artists now than they did before, because they know the situation we're in. So there's a mutual support there where they need us and we need them in a way that's different, that's qualitatively different than the way it used to be.
Yes.
People used to consume culture, and that was it. There wasn't like, oh my God, all these artists, all these comedians, their livelihood has just been taken away. And theater artists and film actors are now doing these Zoom shows, which is driving everybody crazy, but it's all we got.
Right.
I just ran into a very, very, very famous guitarist. I went to see my friend's gig, and I go, are you performing online? He goes, yeah, I'm doing it for survival. Now, he doesn't need the money.
No.
But it's suddenly.
He needs it. Right.
You know,
he needs it for his emotional state. Yeah, just for his
so
well-being.
the compassion from the audience is nice. It's not.
Yeah, I really like that.
You get it. So I like that. That's the silver linings. Besides,
and you know what I think is important. I think it is important because that's one of the things that the pandemic is teaching us, right? Don't take life for granted, because guess what? It can be over in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
You've always known that theoretically, but the pandemic's like, nah, bitch, it's here. It's real. You know?
Real.
Yeah, 215,000 dead now.
No,
in this
let's
country.
not. The numbers are depressed. 7 bazillion cases. Can people tune into your show tomorrow night, the Bergen County show?
Yes, absolutely. I have a Zoom link. You have to DM me for the Zoom link. But I know only because it's not my thing, so they're going to have a studio audience. But I perform now. I've been performing almost every day, either on Zoom or in person.
So people can find that on SONYAVAI.com.
I don't really have anything. I need to update my website. I don't have it on my website. I have it on Instagram.
Okay.
So at Sonya VAI Comedy.
At Sonya VAI Comedy. Okay, folks. So Sonya VAI Comedy. Check out the Bergen County Community College fundraiser tomorrow. And check out Sonya if you're in New York. Go see one of her park shows, because you're very funny. I know you didn't do stand-up today, but I just wanted to talk to you because I just feel like talking.
I know. I miss you.
But people can see your comedy, which is very funny.
Yes.
And I hope I see you before I go. I'm only here for a few more days, but I hope.
When do you leave?
Next week, next Monday. So.
Okay. Well, let's make a plan offline.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Call me.
Great to see you. I will.
I love you. Thank you, sweetheart. Sonya.
Oh, by the way, I was listening to the conversation you had with Fred.
Amazing. Story.
Amazing. And all the things you guys were talking about with like that transference, and I was like, that's it. I related to it.
We're all damaged. Thank you, love.
Okay, thank you so much.
See you soon. Have a good night.
Okay, bye. Bye.
I wanted to thank all of you. You know why I'm wrapping up? Because I'm hungry and I'm tired of eating these crackers. So I'm going to go out and pay an exorbitant amount of money for a bowl of soup, because it's Tribeca and everything is insane. I went to a Bubby's. You guys know Bubby's? Amazing food. Ridiculous prices. 2 people. We were 2 people. I had eggs. He had eggs. I had OJ. He had OJ. $72. I'm not kidding. $72 fucking dollars for eggs and eggs. OJ. Not even a mimosa. And I'm sorry if I offend anybody by saying that. I love you all. irisbar.com, IRISBAHR.com. Follow me on Instagram at iris.bar. Please Venmo me if you like the show at irisbar, no dot. I know there's a lot to handle here. At irisbar, no dot. People have been sending, and it's been so lovely. It's nice to support. It feels good to be supported. So thank you for that. Thank you to all my guests, Fred MELAMED, Sonya VAI, Jason Kaplan of Maury's Bagels. I love you all. Have a good evening. Please stay healthy. Please stay safe. Wear a damn mask. Vote. Power the polls. Whatever cause you believe in. And I apologize to the vegans that I eat meat. I love you all. Have a good night.